Juneteenth, the federal holiday that Americans celebrate to commemorate the ending of slavery in America. For those who are unaware, June 19th, or otherwise known as Juneteenth, is an American federal holiday that traces its origins all the way back to the time of Abraham Lincoln. At that time in 1863, Abraham Lincoln proclaimed the Emancipation Proclamation, which granted freedom to all slaves in Confederate-owned states. However, at that time, news traveled slowly, so slowly in fact, that some slaves didn't hear about it until 2 years later, 1865, June 19th. Reportedly, the last group of slaves to receive the news were a group of slaves in Texas who hadn't heard it until 2 years after the fact, thus giving birth to the holiday we know as Juneteenth. But what if I told you that Lincoln did not end slavery? That's right, it is a common misconception and it is the crux of my argument in today's video. As I said earlier, the Emancipation Proclamation liberated the slaves in the Confederate States. However, they did not apply to 4 of the border states. That is Kentucky, Missouri, Delaware, and Maryland. Although the border states stayed with the Union when war broke out, they had economic and political attachment to both sides. So it was very possible for them to leave the Union in order to join the Confederacy during the conflict. President Lincoln knew this, and that is why he decided to proceed carefully in regards to these 4 states. So when he issued the Emancipation Proclamation, those 4 states were excluded. Their slaves were not freed. Fast forward a few years and it becomes clear that the Union is winning the war. This gives Lincoln more leeway to reel in the border states economically and politically. Fast forward a couple years and it becomes clear that the Union is winning the war. This gives President Lincoln the leverage that he needs to reel in the border states, both politically and economically. Towards the end of the Civil War, Congress goes on to pass and ratify the 13th Amendment on December 6, 1865. This document, unlike the emancipation that which preceded it, truly and holistically abolished slavery across the land, once and for all. If we're going to commemorate history, then I want to do it correctly and for the right occasions. And if we're going to do that, then I think it's important to start with the deconstruction of the myth that President Lincoln freed all the slaves. So in my opinion, this is what we should be celebrating. December 6th, the day the 13th Amendment was ratified. Now I know that Juneteenth used to be a Texas-only holiday until President Joe Biden declared it a national holiday. But if we're going to celebrate the ending of slavery, why not celebrate the ratification of the 13th Amendment instead? I think that's something we can all get behind as a nation. So yeah, that is my reason why I think we should no longer celebrate Juneteenth on a national level, at least. I don't usually talk about history on this channel, but this is something that's kind of always been at the back of my mind and is also tied up into my own heritage, so I just wanted to put my voice out there and my reasons. If you agree or disagree with me, let me know in the comments, but until then, I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching. And these states were called border states. Although they stayed with the Union, had cultural and economic ties to both of them. This gives Lincoln more authority to politically and economically. 13th Amendment. Unlike the Emancipation, towards the end of the Civil War, this document, unlike the Emancipation,